4. Each player has to put 7 legendaries in their deck, and all 7 legendaries have to be a different cost. Of course, there's a $7,000 prize pool with 7 matches for the day. So that's the theme for 7th Sun. So it's actually a really cool thing to see, like Hunter decks with 7 legendaries. Deathwing,
Absolutely.
Mukla, Blood Mage Thanos, stuff like that. So creativity is definitely rewarded.
Not to mention, by the way, that there's still an opportunity to win 25% of your loser's prize money that they've accumulated. The $250 that Xixo just stole from match 2, that can't be touched. So if Trump wins here, he gets $250 from Xixo, not 25% of $1,250, which is very complicated. It starts getting into like, well, he has like $1,317.25. It starts getting too crazy. Coming up after this match, we have the winner of this versus Reynad, and then the winner of that versus Tides of Time from Cloud9. The winner of that versus Tiddler Celestial, and the winner of that, of course, will be challenged by Koyuki, the reigning king from last week, but due to scheduling issues, he requested to go last, which, it's very fair because he wanted to honor the competition. So,
Yeah,
going to be a great set of games. We invited, in my opinion, like 7 of the best deck builders in the entire pro scene of Hearthstone.
The entire world.
Yeah, well, I guess it's safe to say across the world. When you look at these guys, all of them are iconic for how they build their decks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really fun to see these guys being put to the challenge. Now, Trump is an interesting one because the reason why I really like how Trump builds his deck is because he's a guy that doesn't necessarily follow conventional norms. He's a player that often does it through trial and error. And then, sometimes he takes decks and he just puts his own flavor to it, but sometimes he brings his own thing too. I remember seeing him bring Mech Hunter.
He did
a couple weeks back.
a few weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a lot of time he plays Arena, and Arena can sort of open your eyes a little bit to the strength of certain cards, when they're strong, when they're not, because sometimes you're forced into a situation where you have to make what you would call a suboptimal choice if you're given 3 cards that aren't that good, and sometimes you can make those cards work and construct it. So being an Arena player gives you sort of an advantage in the fact that you have a broader understanding of the strengths of different cards than other people might be used to.
It's true. It's true. Maybe you'll find a use for some very weird cards. I just want to see some of those other funky ones like Mogre the Ogre being tossed into like a Warlock deck of some kind. What classes do we have available, by the way? We had Druid versus Hunter to start things off. But what is the rest of the classes?
I didn't see the lineups, but Xixo, of course, Druid, Rogue, Hunter, which we saw earlier, and Trump has Druid, Paladin, Warlock.
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 Interesting.
Yeah. Trump seems like
He's going to play a handlock, you think, with a bunch of legendaries? Or do you think he's going to bring Zoo with a bunch of weird, funky, offbeat stuff?
I'm leaning towards handlock. Trump seems to play a lot of handlock whenever he goes for his ladder spurts. And it seems like he plays slower decks, but he actually surprised us with that more aggressive Mech Hunter from a few weeks ago. Didn't have much success.
It'd be kind of weird if that was the case. But if you see a Warlock, is it really safe to assume a handlock? And if so, then like how does he deal with the fact that this Hunter has a lot of ways to deal damage?
Yeah, it's never safe to assume it's handlock, just because if you assume it's handlock, then it ends up being Zoo. You can be punished very, very heavily. And so a lot of times, like Mulligan guys would always say, well, Mulligan for Zoo, and then try to adjust and deal with what you have if it's handlock, because you can just lose games very quickly against a Zoo lock if you Mulligan wrong.
Sure, makes sense to me. So Xixo is going to be starting off with the Hunter deck. This Hunter deck's pretty weird. We still have yet to see an application for Deathwing, but I think if you're able to follow along, because I'm pretty sure guys like Trump, Reynad, and Tides are keeping track of what's going on throughout the day. They'll probably know that a Deathwing is possible now.
Yeah.
Versus in series is an exciting moment because it's like, does Dog know that Xixo has a Deathwing or vice versa?
Yeah. Well, Deathwing, you've joked about it every single week, and then we finally saw it in 1 week.
I did not joke about it. I said unless he has Deathwing, and then you assumed I was joking because you didn't believe me.
And then UNC Tennis 420. I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
That was it?
Okay. 23. It was 23.
23. Okay. He actually brought Deathwing and Hunter, and I was very surprised. We haven't seen it being applied, but Hunter can find themselves in situations where they just run out of juice, and they need just one way to find themselves to get back in the game. And Deathwing is the ultimate swing card, but it's the all-in swing card. Let's make a break.
Ooh. Xixo got a really bad starting hand. To have both traps that you want in your opening hand with no Mad Scientist, that is rough.
Rough indeed.
A good start as well. Trump has a wild growth into a turn 4 play. So his first 3 turn, or sorry, not turn 4, a 4 mana play. Man, what do you do if you're 6 and you just drop Thanos?
Yeah. It's basically like a loot hoarder.
Yeah, I suppose so. A very weak loot hoarder.
A loot hoarder that could help you activate a snake trap.
Imagine this is Snipe and Trump just like, what? Absolutely wild.
There was a short time where people played Snipe. It was in the Miracle Rogue era. People played Snipe to just counter that turn 5, turn 6 Auctioneer.
Sure.
And then people started to realize that hunters were playing Snipe. And then you can't play Snipe anymore.
Yeah. The moment you realize it's Snipe, it's too late.
Yeah.
Well, this is also somewhat problematic. The turn 2 Freezing Trap. This used to be a popular play dating back to last summer as Hunter versus Druid, just so you can grab tempo early. But with the advent of Mad Scientist, the need for that became dramatically reduced.
Zombie Chow as well.
Yeah. Ho 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 ho.
There he is.
I have a feeling Deathwing might come out this game.
Yeah. It's a slow start for Xixo.
Oh, that's really rough for Trump. That hover was exactly what he needed.
This deck is indeed crazy.
Well, at least he could still wrath it down and play Pilot Shredder.
Innovate out Pilot Shredder?
I would say so.
I guess it's his only choice here.
I would say that you can't afford to be too greedy and just play Pilot Shredder and then innovate scenarios. Vice versa, I don't think you want to play Wrath and then pass. I think you want to present like a decent threat.
The Knife Juggler did a little bit of a roundabout before it was played on the board. Thank you, Spectator Mode. Oh, Snake Trap's going to be played with the Knife Juggler on board. Unless you have direct removal for this, it's really hard to play around.
He's got direct removal.
Yeah, he's got
I think this telegraphs Snake Trap really obviously.
For sure.
It's almost too obvious in a way. Like, why would you silence a Pilot Shredder? Like, why would you silence it at all if you had a second Freezing Trap? It doesn't make sense.
In a way, that could be the ultimate bait.
Right.
But even then, I think Keeper the Grove on this Knife Juggler would still be the right play.
Sure.
Regardless of whether or not...
I mean, you do have a swipe available to you. The first thing
yeah, that's true.
The first thing you can do is test with the hero power.
Yep. Well, now he knows for sure that it's Snake Trap.
Well, that's the thing. You know you're going to hero power with the remaining mana. So you'd probably want to hero power first. That's something that you can at least eliminate the possibility of explosive trap. Not a big deal though, just minor things. And you know, now that there's a lot of weak minions and you know it's Snake Trap, Swipe is going to be devastating.
Yes, it is. And that's just sort of Xixo just playing whatever he has. Just playing whatever he can throw out because he realizes that he's starting to fall behind. And that's never something you can afford as a hunter, especially against a druid. Because if you're behind and they play a big taunt, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to come back. And that's a swipe face that's going to clear the whole board. Wow.
I'm already loving what Trump's showing us here. We see Trogzor, and Trogzor screams to me that he doesn't want to play big game hunters targets in his deck. Because he realizes that there's a lot of legendaries, and if there's a lot of legendaries, there's a high chance that there's going to be big game hunters being played to counter those legendaries.
Yeah.
So he's probably playing Trogzor, he's probably playing like maybe Kel'Thuzad or Sneeds. And then like he has scenarios. None of those minions have 7 or more attack.
It's very true. And
very good first one, for game 1 win here for Trump.
Yeah, and making the read that a lot of players are probably going to put Dr. Boom in that 7 slot. Trogzor can be pretty problematic. He's really tough to remove. even if you have just one direct spell that's going to remove it, which is actually really rare. I guess what, like a fireball?
But yeah, but he still spawns a 3/5.
Yeah, exactly. Would still spawn a 3/5. So
yeah, and if you silence him with like a spell like say the card silence, it still spawns at 3/5. It's not the out of order.
Yeah.
So yeah, the best way to deal with it is usually just like straight up removal through minions or weapons. Or maybe brawl, but that's one of the very few cards.
All right, well, Xixo decides to just go ahead and concede out of that one. It was looking really grim for
Yeah.
him. He did have the Deathwing, but at that point he was just way too far behind.
He died before Deathwing could come out. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. So gonna give it a go with his Rogue. Rogue seems to have a decent time against Druid, as long as they can keep the tempo up early on. There's a lot of big plays that Rogue can make that can just stop a Druid in its tracks, or just delay big things from a Druid long enough to where you can just outright kill them.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Trump's off to a really good start. That Rogue deck has been doing work, though, against Druid. The only reason why Hype lost in his first series was due to that combo being drawn very early from Dog. And it was dead in his hand up until he needed the very last second. So that was a pretty unfortunate scenario that ended up making the Rogue lose. But generally speaking, I think Rogue's doing pretty well against Druid, especially now that they've taken out Spectral Knights. Spectral Knights used to be such a problem.
Spectral Knights are just a problem for just about everybody.
Yeah, it can be really difficult. Priests
Nightmares.
struggle a ton, but it's not undoable. It's not unkillable. You know, you have Circle of Healing combinations sometimes.
Warriors, it's tough. You do have weapons, but can still be really problematic.
It's really tough. Like, Paladins can deal with it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Look at that hand, by the way, from Trump. He's got 2 Wild Growths. Does he have time to play 2 of them? I know he's going to keep 1. Does he toss the second one away because he doesn't need it?
How greedy does he feel right now?
I mean, the thing about having 2 Wild Growths is that their card sinks. You don't actually get use out of the cards itself. So if you don't draw well, like say you throw away Big Game Hunter but draw it, you just have like a dead hand. Like you might not have minions to actually play despite ramping into.
Yeah, I like to look at having 2 Wild Growths in your deck as it being a tool that's allows you to more likely draw into 1 Wild Growth early. I don't usually like to keep 2 Wild Growths in my hand unless I'm playing against like I know I'm playing against another ramp Druid. And even then, sometimes you need to just have mulligan away to try and gain creatures.
Right. But this is what I'm talking about. It's like you might actually not have anything to do despite having a double Wild Growth start. Now granted, almost anything you pick up you can play from this point on. Imagine if Trogsor came out next turn. Like he draws him and he just innervates him out.
Yeah, pretty much anything. Yeah, Ancient Allure.
Wow, Trump fist pumps. That was exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
It's like that's just heartbreaking for Xixo because now the investment for those Wild Growths have paid off. Well, kind of. I mean, Trump still is picking up situational card after situational card. From here, you just simply play very systematic removal and get a 6/6 out there, but Trump has easy response. Do you want to get Tinkmaster out of the way now, or would you just silence it with Keeper?
I think I just silence it.
You don't think there's other targets you'd rather use?
Yeah, well, Tinkmaster, that's true. There are some other targets that you'd want to silence, but you already have the second Keeper in your hand. And you know me, you know how much I love my curve.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely a. Oh, I saw what you did. It's definitely it's definitely something to consider. You're using more mana. It's all about like, you know, if you're going to be building up your board from that point on, Tinkmaster becomes harder to play as well because you're going to be playing minions.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, I think Keeper is a much better play.
Yeah.
It's more guaranteed. If it becomes a 5/5, you're actually starting to get in trouble.
Yeah, because then you can't silence it as like a backup plan. So it's going to be a 5/5 no matter which way you look at it.
Also, there's a 3 attack weapon out, so it just kills Tinkmaster.
Yeah.
Sabotage is a very underrated card. Or did you want to talk about something else?
No, I was just going to think out loud. I was going to talk about the Keeper of the Groove.
It's a good movie.
Frodan's actually the Keeper of the Groove.
How Xixo got his groove back. Always trips me out when I see spectator mode Ancient of War being played because the position is backwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, no, he uprooted.
Uproot!
Well, he can sabotage and kill off this Ancient of War. At first, he would have to Blade Flurry. But he's not leveraging the board very powerfully. He's got a 2-2, which doesn't do much. Normally, if you use like a big Blade Flurry AoE and removal, you want to be pushing in for significant damage, but Edwin Van Cleef as a silenced minion, not terribly impressive.
No.
The alternative is to draw a card of some kind and try and see if you can utilize Preparation. But that doesn't feel very guaranteed. Preparation with Sabotage is 1 mana.
Wow, he actually is going to opt to try and draw into something. There's not really any...
He just doesn't like his hand.
Yeah, not really anything that he can draw into in that situation that's going to help protect his board at all. But, like you said, feels like he just really has no other... No follow-up plays next turn if he decides to just throw away that Sabotage. So I guess he could have just kept the... He could have like auctioneered the following turn, but really just wants more options.
I wonder if Trump's thinking of the idea of using Ancient of Lore as a heal. Or if he's just using... like, because I mean, Swipe plus the hero power is a very obvious play. But I think it's worth evaluating for a second whether or not you want to use Ancient of Lore. Okay. So he's just going to use it to draw. That's definitely a strong play as well.
Ooh, Harrison Jones.
If he has Harrison in deck, then drawing cards is also very powerful. Oh, and I guess I should clarify. When you said heal, he could heal like the Ancient of War.
Yeah, like he could throw the
Put it back to a 5.
Ancient of War into the auctioneer and then heal it back up, yeah.
It's good though, he's forcing a lot of disadvantage right now from the rogue player. Well, I mean, Kael'Thuzad seems like really good now because you just sent him another 5/5.
Yeah. Of course.
That alone is nuts. It's just like, imagine if Kael'Thuzad says it was an 8 mana 6/8, it says summon a 5/5.
That's huge.
It's still so big.
Yeah. Now, of course, Ancient of War does come back as a 5/5, because it is like a battle cry buff, so you don't get that back. But a 5/5 is still pretty big.
Yeah. Still gonna be a little bit idle though. Oh man, Sabotage. Oh wow, a 50-50 coin flip end up landing on the Kael'Thuzad, and that was exactly what he needed. Otherwise, it would have been lights out, I think.
Oh wow, the Azure Drake swipe though. That's a really nice clear, and even though Xixo gets the good end of that Sabotage, he's still in a really rough position.
Yeah, Vile Teacher number 2 is not what he needed. This will get shut down by Big Game Hunter. Wait, how much damage does Trump have, actually? He's got 9, 10. 4 more, so it's 13. 14 damage? A little bit short. Oh, actually, he can Harrison Jones and draw for potential lethal. Might not be worth it.
What would give him? I don't think there would, unless he's running combo.
Well, like a Savage Roar would end the game.
Yeah, if he's running the combo.
Or he can Harrison Jones and then Big Game Hunter, so that way it's just a lot of targets. In fact, he's got so many plays available to him right now involving Big Game Hunter. He can Big Game Hunter and then Cenarius for like massive damage.
Yeah. He'd have a 6/6, 7/7, 6/4, and a 5/8 on the board.
Right. He can also like attack, clear, and then be defensive with Sludge Belcher if you felt like it was really necessary. Sludge Belcher is more vanilla, like he wouldn't be revealing information. He's in such a dominant spot that he doesn't have to show Harrison here.
And it hits his Azure Drake for 1 as well, which is nearly best case scenario.
Yeah.
He actually had really good sequencing there. He attacked just with his Azure Drake because he knew that was the only one that was at risk for the boom bots.
2 Wild Growth starts in a row for Trump, and that leads it to a 2-0. And Xixo is now down to his last deck. It's going to be his own Druid. Now, Druid is definitely the most popular class. I think 6 out of the 8 players have brought it today. correct?
Yes.
So we'll be seeing a lot of Druid, but more specifically, it's the fact that Druid's winning quite often.
The last 2 players of the day are the only 2 players without Druid: Tiddler, Celestial, and Koyuki.
In fact,
So-
they're also the most diverse too, because I believe Tiddler has the Mage.
Between the 2 of them, oh no, they only have 1 shared class. So
We'll see.
yeah.
Xixo and Trump will go for this Druid mirror match. It seems like when it goes to the legendaries thing, Druid doesn't change its game plan too much, right? Because it's going to be ramps, going to be a little bit slower. I'm just surprised that the Rogue hasn't been able to be as effective against it as I thought.
No, I mean, you got to think double wild growth into drawing an Ancient of Lore
with
right on time
with
the
Innervate.
Innervate. Yeah.
It's very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, Xixo still managed to hold himself into the game. It's just rough. It's really hard to play against a start like that. And now it's going to be Druid Mirror matchup, and we've seen in the past 2 best of 5s, we've seen Druid and Hunter. The first series was nearly swept all by Druids. The second series was nearly swept all by Hunters.
Then the last... Oh, this one is going to be swept by Druid again.
This has the potential to be swept by Druids as well.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where Trump might hide Paladin and Warlock, which can be really powerful, just because you don't know what to play around against, and you're going to be navigating through with uncharted waters.
Yeah. These players are smart. They will be watching the other players play, since they play quite a bit earlier than them, just to get a feel for what decks they're running.
Well, one more game until Xixo is eliminated. Can he hold on and force a game 4? Maybe even take it all the way. Dog was really close last time around, but was ultimately stopped. Well, I guess no wild growth for either player. Tinkmaster, not really that impactful whatsoever. In fact, it just seems more like a negligible card. You just kind of toss it in there.
Yeah. We played on an empty board as a 3/3. Probably ends up taking the spot of like a mind control tech in this deck. I mean, I guess it could turn a Shade into a 1/1.
I guess so. Or turn into a 5/5 and accelerate it 2 turns.
Accelerate it, but cap its potential.
I guess it's like a stim pack. Trump starts with another 2 wild growths. And he's going first.
Wow. And Azure Drake to follow that up with.
Yep. That's quite ridiculous. Oh, is that Trump that starts with? Oh, is that Xixo with 2 wild growths? I must have misread the...
No, that is Trump.
Oh, so Trump does have the 2 wild growths.
Yeah.
So Xixo immediately repulsed by that sight. Seeing a wild growth in response to his wild growth, but Xixo did fortunately draw straight into Shade of Next Rammus.
There's a Shade. But this is actually a pretty decent curve for Trump here. He's going to have Sylvanas to play the next turn, and then Azure Drake, or what if he draws into a 7-drop. I mean, it's kind of hard not to have a good curve when you have double wild growth. You can just about fit anything into there.
I've got the beast.
Yeah, she's going to play the Big Game Hunter out just to try and hold on to some of the tempo that he has here.
Yeah, Sylvanas is definitely problematic. You're going to have to use a Keeper of the Grove on it. The one thing that is going to go into favor of Xixo, though, is whether or not he can seize momentum on the board.
And he realized that early. That's why he played the BGH, but...
It's still a 5/5. That's the big problem, too. It's like you silence the Sylvanas, but it's still a 5/5 body.
You still have to throw either 2 creatures into it or a creature and a hero power into it.
Right. And most likely, Trump won't have to. You can just use Keep of the Grove instead, and then keep it as a 5/3, forcing even, a Wrath and less mana to be used.
Shade Piloted Shredder seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah. The one thing that, like we said, the one thing that's been in Xixo's advantage was the fact that he was ahead on board by a big portion with the Shade of Next Rammus. But if Trump climbs back with just one big decisive swing, like say he just hits like a big taunt next minion and he can't, and Xixo doesn't have anything to deal with it, then Trump just runs so far ahead. Now
I like Xixo's hand better at the moment. like in the long run, because having Ancient of Lore to refill the hand, Cenarius later on can really buy you some time, if not allow you to seize back a little bit of control over the board. And Harrison Jones is not that fantastic of a card in the Druid Mirror matchup.
Pilot Shredder is completely fair, considering that you're expecting Sylvanas to get traded anyways.
Huh.
That is a spell power swipe, by the way.
Yes, it is. That can take care of the Shade.
3 health.
That's
just
awkward.
annoying enough.
Yeah. I mean, he could still get rid of the Shade, which is really hard to pass up, and I definitely agree with this.
That Shade, though, how long do you hold? I mean, pretty much it'll take out whatever comes out next, but
Yeah.
I think attacking here is okay because he still needs to Wrath and take out whatever's there. So now you force a Keeper the Grove.
Yeah. Which is pretty good. It's a pretty effective way. Trump's got to feel at least okay about being able to deal with that right off the bat. But most likely Ancient of Lore is going to come out next turn, and it's just going to be Xixo's going to have a little bit of a card advantage in that sense.
Yep, he definitely will. The only exception is if Trump picks up Swipe in the next 2 cards, and then he'll strike back.
The Druid Mirror, all about the board.
He's going to kill off Thalnos, trying to avoid an easy Wrath for 4 opportunity. That might end up biting him, but we'll see. Whoa. Ancient of War. Some really powerful cards coming out for Xixo. And all of a sudden, the ramp that Trump was able to get early on has not paid off whatsoever.
Yeah. It was really good that Xixo actually had a wild growth of his own. Even though he was essentially playing like a mana or 2 down the entire game, he still had good enough card quality to be able to keep himself in. Now Trump just has a weak hand.
Well, I assumed that he was going to play Azure Drake, but it seems like he's going to try to save Azure Drake for the moment he draws Swipe.
Yeah. And I think he wants something that can actually challenge the Ancient of Lore here. That's rough.
Well, it is a draw. Let's first see what the Azure Drake does pick it up. And I suppose you just have to deal with the consequences then, right?
Yeah. You know that he can't really get any value out of that the Kel'Thuzad next turn. So rather than silence it now, he's just going to play a bigger body. The card quality in Xixo's hand right now is just ridiculous.
It just shows you how big that Ancient of Lore was.
Yeah. Like while Trump was drawing into like his second keeper and like Harrison Jones, Xixo was getting Ancient of Lore, Ancient of War.
Swipe the Drake to prevent spell power. Sounds that sounds pretty reasonable. You know, today we were thinking about having the 7 dragons be a requirement.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that last week.
But yeah, we didn't end up going with that. We felt like it'd be too limiting. Just like everyone has to bring dragons, and like by the halfway through the day, you're just like, I'm done.
Yeah, Azure Drakes in every deck.
Yeah, Azure Drakes, Fairy Dragons, Twilight Drakes, and then you have Ysera, Alexstrasza.
Nosdormu.
Nosdormu.
Nosdormu?
Nosdormu.
Nosdormu? Which one is it?
Nosdormu.
Okay. I'll trust you.
I must safeguard the
I have faith.
Let's just go with the one that the movie had. The Nos that you just use on your car.
Nosdormu.
Turn it into a race car.
Coming to a theater near you.
Well, it looks like that's going to be game here, and Trump is finally going to have his Druid deck taken down. Xixo, despite seeing an early wild growth advantage, getting that Shade Naxxramas was so big and force Trump into an awkward situation time after time again.
All 3 series so far today have started off 2-0 in one person's favor or the other. So Xixo not a stranger to this situation.
No, not at all. But we're moving pretty quickly, and now all of a sudden Trump will have to play one of his other decks, Paladin or Warlock.
And we'll have to see. I'm not sure how practiced he is on these decks, actually. I've been watching him play a lot of Druid lately. But it's been a while.
I've been seeing him play a lot of Paladin as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Handlock is a deck that he's practiced too, but Trump's also, once upon a time, known for his Zoo play quite often. He would always bring Zoo.
We need to get a Trump tracker in here.
Sure. Maybe he brings Demon Lock.
Whoa. I actually saw Calento experimenting with a really interesting. So I guess it was sort of a Demon Lock. It was sort of a hybrid between a Zoo Lock and a Demon Lock.
Cool.
Like I ran Nerubian Eggs with Power Overwhelmings, but like Doom Guards and Void Callers and Floating Watchers. It was really cool. He went on like a 10-game winning streak with it.
I think series like this is partially why people want to see Conquest or other decks. Because Conquest, what it does is it's kind of the inverse of Last Hero Standing. You only can win with you have to win with each deck once. And once it wins, it's like eliminated. It's really weird, but it's like it demonstrates that you have to know how to play more than one deck.
Yeah, you can't just like 3-0 your way through a best of 5 with a single deck.
But it rewards breadth over depth to a certain degree. But at the same time, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. You're more than just a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. At least Hearthstone's not there right now in terms of one deck depth, because it feels like everyone knows how to play a deck really well. So showing off more skill and more knowledge through decks is always a good thing.
Yeah. There's some decks that are more straightforward than others. I'm not going to name any names.
Do it.
Nope.
You mean Control Warrior?
I'm not going to alienate everybody. Control Warrior is the most deep and complex and beautiful deck
It's Fatigue Mage.
that has ever been
Mage
created.
Is definitely more complex and deep.
Fatigue Mage is like a Control Warrior that like rolled around in the mud.
No.
That's what Fatigue Mage is.
No.
Fatigue
not
Mage is a
close.
Control Warrior that's like a delinquent that commits crimes. That's what Fatigue Mage is to me. It's dirty, dirty.
This is Handlock, by the way, from Trump.
That's what I expected.
I mean, finish your thought. Go ahead. I'm just moving on the conversation because I don't know how to respond to that.
No, I don't. There's just no way to respond to it. The conversation ended when I said Control Warrior is just a delicate beast that can't be controlled.
Well, pretty important that he landed a wild growth there, so that way he has an opportunity to do something. I wonder if Trump will just take his time. Here's another problem too. It's wow, another wild growth.
This has classically been a pretty rough matchup for Druid here against the Handlock, right? Just because they're both sort of ramp decks. And the fact that they both sort of utilize tools to ramp up, the Druid with Wild Growth, the Warlock with their hero power, but the Warlock just plays quicker, just plays bigger threats more quickly. There are some times where the Druid can win. Combo Druid I think has a little bit more of an advantage because they can take wins from nowhere. But things like this with a Keeper of a Grove onto a Twilight Drake and then maybe like a BGH and the Giant that follows up.
Right. Well, that's why hitting the Wild Growth was so important, so that
Yeah,
way
it's true.
if this Drake came out, he would be able to take it out. Because normally you would only be able to take it out if you had Innervate.
You would just silence it and still would leave it on the board. So then you would effectively just be trading 1 for 1 instead of being able to play the Keeper, leave your Keeper alive, and still be able to remove the Twilight Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. Lotha being plopped down here. Xixo. Kael'Thuzad is a play, but it's somewhat weak. Oh, I guess it's not weak, it's just it's not the high value you would normally come to expect from.
6/8, summon a 2/4.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's like an 8/12. We can spread the damage a little bit better.
8/12 for 8. It's alright. It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Shadow Flame is one way to get rid of it.
Yeah. And you always have to factor in handlocks. You don't necessarily play with spell power very often, but spell power does affect like Shadow Flame. So it'll actually do the health of the creature that you're Shadow Flaming +1.
Right. So if you Shadow Flame with Thanos, for example, it'd do 2 damage.
Yeah.
Well, in any scenario, he still can Shadow Flame his Ancient Watcher.
Yeah, it doesn't need spell power or anything to buff that up.
Right.
So
I suppose you even play Thanos or your Ancient Watcher. I think Ancient Watcher is a little bit more flexible. But what the nice thing about Thanos is it forces out a hero power. So he, quote, only has 7 mana to use.
I guess Thanos could sort of be like a Mortal Coil.
Oh, replacement for Mortal Coil?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
It's because in an ideal scenario, it'd be like a deal 1 damage, draw a card type thing. You even have more uses for it. Granted, it could get silenced and you may not draw a card. Whereas Mortal Coil, you can actually choose when you're drawing or not. But I think it fits in better than some other legendaries might.
Well, Xixo opts to use Innervate to take out this Thanos. It could bite him in the butt if Thanos enabled spell power with Dark Bomb and Hellfire, which would be a full board clear.
I'll tell you what, Dan, I wouldn't want to bite a druid in the butt.
No, man. First of all, that's nasty. And second of all,
That's nasty.
It wouldn't even taste good.
No. Well, it depends what kind of
Keep me out of your fetishes.
it depends what kind of foliage is growing down there.
So that's why that scene was in our movies.
Hey man, I'm a really big fan of Malfurion.
Oh my gosh. That's definitely going to be like some kind of original content, like making inappropriate references with Hearthstone names. As like, it would be like if they were an adult film actor, what their name be, you know?
Oh god. I have some great ideas already.
No, man, this is a family.
Yeah.
This is a family-friendly broadcast.
I put the filter on for a second. I would have just shouted them out. If this,
Oh, that's really inconvenient. Normally he'd be able to clear the Dr. Boom, but that 1 damage onto the.
1 damage is
scenarios.
usually what you want in that type of situation,
Right.
but he was hoping it would go onto his face, or maybe even the Sylvanas, or 1 damage onto the 2/2, which he was planning on
Right, just
trading
not
anyway.
not the scenarios.
Not the scenarios.
It's hilarious. This is also a big tell that it's very clear Xixo doesn't have a big game hunter, so Giants are now much more free to roam. But the problem is Trump did use a Shadow Flame, and Shadow Flame is one of the most important cards against Druid when the board gets too tight. I wonder if Trump is also considering the possibility he might die soon, with the possibility of a combo.
Yeah, it's something that you have to keep in the back of your head,
Yeah.
as handlock especially, because
Whoa!
you get it. This is risky.
Man. Okay.
Go! Got it!
Oh! Dang, and now he can silence this Sylvanas.
That's
And-
clutch.
That was so big.
Trump with the cojones.
I mean, I guess you taunt up the Tink Master, right?
Trump still looks unsure about what just happened. What did I just do?
Oh, he's afraid of combo. Okay. Wow. That was such a big risk. But it was a 1 in 4 chance of it backfiring. Actually, no. 50-50%. No. It could have landed.
I think there was a lot of backfires.
There's a lot of calculations to that. 1, it could have landed on his own Dr. Boom. 2, it could have landed on the 2/2 and turned to a 5/5. But
Dr. Boom turning into anything would have been bad.
75% of the time it would have been okay. So I think it's okay to risk that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go with that.
Frodan has
It's
spoken.
definitely not that exact percentages, but I'm just rounding it up. It's more times than often not okay to do that. So it's the appropriate risk.
That play just received the Frodan seal of approval.
That's right. You didn't have to go to a notary for that.
Well, okay, so this is. I think. I was gonna say it's time to just throw out his own Tink Master. But there's a lot of. I think there's.
Not yet. Tink Master in a Molten Giant scenario is actually not bad.
Yeah.
Because it's a very low chance that you'll hit like the Sun Fury Protector if he has double Molten Giants out.
No matter what he does in this situation, it's pretty risky because he'll lose like all semblance of a board if, say, the Ancient of War gets like Siphon Sold.
Right.
But he didn't really have many other options.
Sylvanas is a very strong draw here. It will get silenced, but that means if Trump gets another Twilight Drake, that will be pretty strong. A lot of decisions starting to domino effect here. Or does Trump want to coin out a Molten Giant?
I think he's still thinking in the back of his head, well, if I play this, could I die?
Well, the reality is yes.
But at some point you just have to say, well, I can't play around it anymore. Because playing around it would make me...
Right.
Would force me to make a suboptimal
too many
play.
suboptimal plays. I think Sylvanas is okay. It would force out a silence, the second silence, which means not only is Twilight Drake protected, but he can't simply get through these Sludge Belchers easily, and then like rush past you for the kill.
Yeah.
She's still a 5/5 body, and the upside to it is very good.
Definitely 5 out of 5.
Her body is 5 out of 5, man. She works out. You see those yoga pants? I'd spread those wings.
I thought this was family friendly. I couldn't even say my adult film Hearthstone aliases.
It is family friendly.
Okay.
It's PG-13.
Yeah. Wings spread all the time. That's just what wings do.
Yeah, you know, wingspan is a very appropriate measure in like the NBA, right? They want to measure how.
Why not use it in Hearthstone as well? Good point.
Well, this Ancient of Lore now will start wrecking, essentially. Oh wow, Xixo kills the 2/2. I guess he doesn't want to evoke the Wrath of Molten Giants. Makes sense.
This is an awkward spot because he's not low enough to be able to use the Molten Giant. So right now he's not going to really take too much of an initiative on the board here. Probably Twilight Drake Sludge Belcher is the play that he's going to... Well, actually, he could Twilight Drake and then coin out a Molten Giant.
Yeah, and I mean, he can use Molten Giant with the Ancient Watcher and Taunt as well. There's a lot of plays available to Trump. He even can tap if he feels like he can get away with it. If assuming your opponent has the Force of Nature combo, he would have 7 plus 4 is 11 plus 14 is 25 damage. And if you taunt up 13 health, you're at 28. So if he went for a very defensive play, he'd be okay. But he's not even afraid. He is going for a Ragnaros play, and he wants the Ancient of War, and he hits the face. Now, interestingly enough, that makes it pretty hard for him to guarantee get like a Tink Master shot on this.
Yeah.
Actually, this is still a little bit awkward because before it's like if it hit the Ancient of War, then it'd be like, well, you know, I Tink Master that. But now he just goes for it.
This is risky. Not too risky, but it could play into Shadow Flame really well here.
He's going to hope that he top decks a swipe. I mean, this is pretty much just saying that I'm going to end this game right here.
Whoa! Well, yeah, double Molten Giant, Jiraxis
kind of a big deal,
okay.
but not really.
Double Molten Giant, Jiraxis, coin hero power.
That's one possibility. I think you might want to coin Sun Fury.
Yeah, that seems better. I was just thinking, how much could you possibly load the board up?
Sure. And Harrison Jones will strip him of all his weapons.
Because he'd be very close to dead.
Right.
Right on board if he didn't taunt up in this situation. So.
That's 8 cards. Ah, Trump is celebrating. Oh, that is a really big target. Harrison Jones instantly being called on.
Harrison Jones came out before it even switched over.
Game Hunter. 2 big game hunters. If he picks up an Innervate, That is going to completely swing this board.
That's a lot of
Wait, hold on.
cards.
Savage Roar. Whoa, wait. Savage Roar. Ah, no, you can't do that.
He gets severed? No.
It's close.
Well, I think BGH in
I've got the beast in my sight.
4 damage Wrath here is going to be his best option. And this is actually really good because he's still got a lot of... He just filled up his hand from empty.
Right. I mean, he's almost decked out.
Look at Trump's face.
Yeah. He's almost decked out. The Harrison Jones was such a big deal.
Trump's like, but I just thought I won the game.
Yeah.
It's okay, Trump.
You might have to double sludge it up. It's too risky. He's looking at 11 damage on board, and if he just hits the face, he just dies.
Double sludge it up would be a good Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor.
It would be. Ooh. Good thing he did put those sludge belchers up. No Force of Nature. Imagine if he had Force of Nature. Would he have been able to kill him? No, there's too much health.
No. And it's so hard to split up because it's like sort of even more effective health because most of the time you're going to be throwing more than 2 damage at the slimes that come out from the sludge belchers.
Well, you definitely want a big game hunter this last Ragnaros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or this last 8-8 here.
Yeah. And then the options from there become a little bit tougher.
I suppose Ancient of War wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. Ancient of Lore and Heal could also be good. But you're not putting as big of a body on the board, and there's not really much he could do to kill you next turn either.
Well, Drax's hero power is pretty sick, but he needs some AoE like Hellfire or Shadow Flame. Otherwise, Xixo would be DED dead.
Indeed. And, oh man. Okay. And usually what Handlock's cut is, like one of the extra AoEs, when they're trying to like fit more text into their...
Wait, what?
Why are you so confused, Dan?
Oh, okay. I was like, why did he innervate the taunt out? But it's he was worried about dying, I think.
Mm-hmm.
To like Hellfire and Shadow. Oh wow, he played around Hellfire and Dark Bomb. That's actually really impressive. By the way, does that kill him? Is it Savage Roar and Swipe? I think so.
It does.
Wow, actually, I didn't
16
realize
damage.
the depth of which Xixo just made his play until it was very late into the next turn. That was very impressive. He played around the one scenario he might die.
Hellfire Dark Bomb.
Yeah.
Drax, this is very dramatic as
He's
always.
playing really well. Xixos is playing very, very well. It looked like maybe there's moments where he might have been on tilt, but that was a very good, flawless execution of that turn.
Yeah. The first couple of games, he actually tapped out really quickly into the match. And
I mean, he was doing that while playing around Siphon Soul as well. So
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, because if he had Siphon Soul on like the Ancient of War, then
yeah. Or even Ancient of Lore. He could have healed with the Ancient of Lore and sort of served the same purpose.
right. It would have been everything. Like if he cleared the board there and he didn't have a Savage Roar board, then it would have been tough. But now we go into game number 5 and see whether or not Trump can turn around with his Paladin deck and stop the comeback train. Or will Xixo continue dominance and move on to Reynad as his next target?
Has this been the... Okay, yeah. This is sort of a very similar situation that we saw last game where one deck looks to sweep. If it's going towards that same trend, Trump would be victorious.
Right, because this is exactly what Xixo did the previous. Now, Paladin versus Druid, I feel like Paladin has a great shot, considering that. How do you deal with like a Quartermaster? If you don't have swipe, or even worse, like what if you just like use Quartermaster on turn 8? just with like the muster for battle, you're still in trouble.
Blood Mage, Thanos, Starfall.
Yeah. Or Poison Seed, Starfall.
Poison Seeds. I haven't seen Poison Seeds play in a long
You
time.
just play Abomination with explosive.
Whoa!
You play 2 explosive sheeps.
I think Abomination has potential as a card.
Oh, it definitely does have potential. It's just overshined by everything else that's better. Stats-wise, it's very unimpressive. It just dies really easily, and
And it's a 5-drop, so it competes with like Sludge Belcher and a lot of like Loatheb.
it does feel like it doesn't help as much as you think it would. A lot of people had tried putting it. I remember Dark Wanix tried putting Abominations into the Warrior back in the day.
Back in the day.
That was before Sludge Belcher.
Dark Wanix, who we will be seeing in a couple weeks' time for the ESL Legendary Series Land Finals. And you guys can join us as well. Which happens the weekend after Valentine's Day. Aha!
Job's done.
I miss hearing the Nat Pagel sound. I know a lot of people back in the days of Nat Pagel
My greetings.
hated that sound so much.
Oh man, this makes me back to the Fight Night days.
Yeah.
Oh, he picks up Keep of the Grove.
Where literally everybody ran Nat Pagel in their deck.
Sorry.
Aw, no draw.
Sorry.
Wow, look smug Xixo is.
Sorry.
Because he knows he's going to silence this now. And prevent Paladin from drawing cards. That's one way that you can just easily lose the game.
Is he though?
Well, no, actually he has some wild growth. Originally he had no other play.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry.
There's a lot of really key silence targets in.
Because now he's going to, what, coin Dr. Boom the following turn? Xixo realizing that he's getting very
Oh!
lucky right now.
Caught one!
My greetings.
Thank you.
That thing can actually be really problematic.
Nat Pagel?
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
let's say you don't remove it right away. You're having to deal with the threats on the board. Sometimes you just don't have the time to be able to remove it. And it can just keep drawing and drawing and drawing. Slide that Pagel, you.
Well, how does he want to go about this? He can remove Dr. Boom's body with a card efficient play. He can play the mana efficient play with Sludge Belcher. And then kill off a bomb. I guess that's okay too, because if he uses the Dr. Boom to crash into the 3/5, you have choose over the following turn to snipe it.
Yeah.
Now it's all about whether or not you want to attack this bomb now or after the Sludge Belcher. To better preserve either bodies on the board.
I think you'd want to preserve the Paladin Shredder more. Because if you get a good turn 6 play, you can use the Paladin Shredder to trade into the Dr. Boom the following turn if he crashes the Dr. Boom into the Sludge Belcher.
That's a good point. So you should play Sludge Belcher first.
Should play Sludge
and then
Belcher
attack.
first, yeah.
Some complicated permutations, but alright. Average,
decent.
median result.
Yeah.
But I think Trump would have preferred it hitting the face, obviously.
Yeah. Or even Nat Pagel.
Could be. Pagel's already paid for himself. He's already
Yes.
drawn a card. And most likely, Xixo won't be able to deal with it unless he wants to dedicate resources he doesn't want to otherwise. You know, there was a lot of questions like, why aren't people just playing Pagel anymore after it got nerfed? And a lot of reasons had to do with the fact that it was too slow and it was just not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But in slow control meta like this, Nat Pagel's not too bad.
Yeah. Those of you who haven't been around for a while, Nat Pagel used to actually draw the card at the end of your turn instead of the beginning of your following turn. So that way you could get near immediate value out of him if he
Wow.
drew a card at the end of the turn that you place him on.
That's-
2 for 3 so far.
That's pretty big.
Thank you.
That's a big card advantage right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love that. That's my ringtone whenever I get a cell phone text message now.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so obnoxious. I love it. Quality consecration seems to be in order. You already are up in the card advantage pretty sharply. It's somewhat 2 for 2.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could say it that way.
Alternatively, you don't really have a good way to deal with Dr. Boom. So.
You're making his next turn play pretty awkward too, because if he wants to play a 7-drop, he's got to leave that Nat Pagel up.
Well, Xixo doesn't want to do anything. That Harrison Jones is so valuable against Paladin. Rest in peace, Pagel.
I'd say that Pagel definitely.
Howdy.
Thank you.
I think this is Trogzor time.
On an empty board is on turn 7. It's just about the dream Trogzor.
Oh man, Trump's sitting so pretty right now.
I'd say Trogzor is might even rival Dr. Boom on an empty board. Just because
Well, when there's taunts in the way, it always gets more complicated.
Yeah. Because now it's just going to be able to get removed by the Cenarius. But still.
How does he leverage this? Does he
Muster
play a Sludge
Quartermaster.
Let me
Oh, Harrison Jones. Harrison Jones will be so big. It's gonna draw 3 cards.
Even if he draws 3 cards,
So
it's still going to
big.
be tough for him to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a 2-card combo right there.
It's just so massive. Trump should attack with this, just because he needs to reduce the amount of cards drawn.
Yeah.
Like 3 cards is such a big deal.
Yep.
On the plus side too, Xixo does manage to deal with Trogzor. But outside of that,
But if he... Okay, so Harrison Jones here. He's going to be left with 5 mana.
he might not be able to Harrison Jones here. We'll see.
I think you have to. The quality of cards in his hand is pretty bad.
Sure.
I mean, he does have an Ancient of War, but that's about it. Because he already had both pieces of combo.
Well, now he's got to innervate, so that was
Yeah.
actually a great series of moves here.
Good sequencing. It is pretty obvious sequencing there, but don't want to give Trump any free 3/5s.
Yep. Now, the only thing he's crossing his fingers for is no Black Knight. Black Knight would devastate this board.
Yeah.
Big time. Still has Silence. Silence would be pretty key, but you know, you're not saving it. Oh, Cult Master is actually so big here too. So Cult Master allows you to push through this Ancient of War, and then you can kill off Harrison with Xixo. That's so nuts.
You also have
And
to...
you're- Well, actually, are you drawing too many cards then? You're drawing 4 cards. You're playing 2. No, you still have
Oh, he's
9
still good.
cards. You have
Yeah.
9 cards at the end.
He's been drawing lots of cards.
Yeah.
At this point, you also have to start keeping in the back of your mind. Start playing around combo. He's got to remove as much as the board as he possibly can.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Because that was actually lethal on board. Granted, he didn't remove anything, but
No, that's an excellent point.
Tyrion Fulltring.
Second Quartermaster.
God,
Always scary.
he's drawn through so much of his deck. It's ridiculous.
Right. But Ramp Druid does have the combo, so in the back of his mind, he has to be worried about dying, even though he's at 26 health. Swipe is pretty devastating here.
Wow. Okay. And he's going to be able to use this Harrison to pile on a little bit of extra damage. So, lethal next turn. On board. So what can he do to stay alive here? He does have Sludge Belcher, as well as Tyrion.
Yeah, it's a series of pretty ugly plays.
Yeah. If he uses Sludge Belcher, he doesn't really have a play to follow it up with. He would just be playing like a shielded mini bot plus a hero power. Because True Silver wouldn't be able to completely remove that Ascended Shield Master. So Tyrion seems like the most reliable way for him to try and gain back board while also keeping himself alive.
Is that lethal? Hold on. So if he uses hero power to remove, no, he had to throw in 2 tree ants, right? Because the most he can maximize is 18 damage. Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit short, I think.
Yeah, he's short. Because he'd have to throw one of the treants in to pop.
We could throw Harrison, and then he'd have 5, 12, 17. Yeah, he has 17 damage.
Yeah.
Maximum, so a little bit short.
I mean,
So then you just Sylvanas.
or you could Tinkmaster. If it hits tier and you win.
What?
He wins! What? Oh my goodness!
No
Wow.
way!
That's it! Series is over. Tinkmaster just won Xixo the series. Just like that.
This time for sure.
Wow.
Just like the old days.
And he was so
Guys,
confident in that play. He's just like, you know what? As soon as he hovered over Tinkmaster for a second, he's just like, go. Boom. Done.
a year and a half ago, everyone would complain. Actually, no, it was actually 1 year ago. Fight Night was going on around.
Yeah,
now,
it was.
and everyone was complaining about Nat Pagle and Tinkmaster. And you know what? A year later, Nat Pagle's still doing big things, but Tinkmaster doing even bigger things. Wow.
Yeah. Tinkmaster used to be
What
a
an
point
end to
and
that
click
series.
removal. You
Yeah.
used to be able to target who you wanted to turn into a Devilsaur or a Squirrel with Tinkmaster. It was almost an auto include in most decks.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy indeed. Well, that's 2 in a row for Xixo, and he's defeated Trump, which means he'll be awaiting Raidnad in the next match. That's going to be coming up for you guys in just a second. We're going to have Raidnad be challenging for Xixo, but more importantly, Xixo has now won $2,000 on top of the $250 he earned from Dog.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of going earlier on the day is you have a chance to win some pretty big money. Now, it's harder to get all the way to the end where you're going to be king and, of course, invited back for the next week. But, I mean, even if he goes away with a couple $1,000 in today, then I think he'll still be pretty happy, and he's already racking it up.
Well, we want to thank all of our sponsors that make this possible. We're at Western Digital, Crucial, Cooler Master, and Newegg, as well as Plantronics. They've been helping us put on this season. They've been doing a lot of the promotions, as well as giving away gear, headsets, expert packs. But the big
Expert
sponsor
packs?
of the day, expert packs. The big sponsor of the day, though, is the Seventh Son. That's the reason why we're doing 7 legendaries and 7 matches for $7,000. Lots of fun so far, but we're just about halfway through. When we come back, we're going to have Raidnad versus Xixo coming up here in the Master Builder King of the Hill week number 2.